And I'm just going to turn my screen, I'm going to mute myself and turn off my video.
All right. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Miranda Daly, and I am the membership delegate of the Emerging Leaders Committee. A few housekeeping notes before we kick it over to Samantha to get us started on our presentation today. I'd kindly ask that you all please mute yourself. We have not me. We have a lot of information to get through today. And so that I ask that if you have any questions to please put them in the chat box, and I will make sure to get those to our panel at the end of the presentation. This presentation is going to be recorded, and we will send you a follow-up email afterwards, including links, a copy of the presentation, as well as the recording. And so with that, I'd like to introduce Samantha Bertoman, our Associate Director of the Emerging Leaders Committee, to talk about what is CPHA.
Hey everyone, my name is Samantha Bertoman, and as Miranda was saying, I am the Associate Director for our Emerging Leaders Committee. And I don't know about you all, but this was always a question in my mind, what is CPHA? So we're here to present that to you today. Perfect. Awesome. So first we want to start with our land acknowledgement. We would like to acknowledge the traditional, ancestral, unceded territory of the Cheyenne, Arapaho, Kiowa, Ute, Navajo, Apache, Shoshone, Comanche, and Pueblo nations, on which we are learning and working today and over the course of this event. We acknowledge and send gratitude to the land and to the people who have stewarded it through the generations. At CPHA, we believe it is important to acknowledge the land. We recognize that acknowledging territory and tribal nations should take place within the larger context of genuine and ongoing work to forge real understanding and to challenge the ongoing legacies of colonialism. Reconciliation requires action and accountability. Together, we have the responsibility to push past recognition and demand land repatriation and reparations to sovereign tribal nations and Indigenous people across our state. While acknowledging the land shows recognition and respect for tribal nations, reaching out to local tribal communities is necessary to open pathways for dialogue and to cultivate strong relationships. Discussion around how land can be returned to its original caretakers is a necessary next step. Solidarity can look like donating time and money to Indigenous-led organizations, amplifying the voices of Indigenous people, leading grassroots change movements, and returning land. We must also acknowledge that much of what we know of this country today, including its culture, economic growth, and development throughout history and across time, has been made possible by the labor of enslaved Africans and their ascendants who suffered the horror of transatlantic trafficking of their people, chattel slavery, and Jim Crow. We are indebted to their land and their sacrifice, and we must acknowledge the tremors of that violence throughout the generations and the resulting impact that can still be felt and witnessed to this day. Next, we want to acknowledge CPHA's commitment to anti-racism. CPHA decided to commit to ARO work in 2019 and knew that the work needed to begin with internal organizational work and assessment. CPHA is working with our consultant, Dr. Janine Duran, in efforts to support Indigenous communities, African-American communities, and communities of color as part of our organization's commitment to becoming anti-racist. We hope our land acknowledgement statement will encourage others to stand with us in solidarity with Native nations and Black, Indigenous, and people of color. And just to dive a little deeper into that, CPHA's commitment to anti-racism. So while CPHA has been committed to the advancement of health and social equity for some time, in 2020, the board of directors voted to become an anti-racist organization. This means that CPHA will strive to ensure that the commitment to end racism is a consistent and enduring area of focus in all that we do. As such, we will be prioritizing activities such as the following: analysis and transformation of our organizational norms and culture, including governance, elections, missions, vision, policies, communications, procedures, and board agreements. Intentional efforts to increase inclusion at all levels of the organization, from membership to leadership, more community engagement, co-creation, and power sharing platforms to determine strategy, resource allocation, and association and policy advocacy priorities, provision of training and education on DEI, anti-racism, allyship, power, accountability, the links between oppressions, and the aversive impacts of systemic racism and white supremacy. Engaging in policy advocacy efforts which reduce health inequities and promote racial equity and justice, and devotion of organizational time and resources to building relationships across the dimensions of culture, race, gender, and ethnicity. So this commitment has informed the content which follows. We hope that it will also serve as a guide for CPHA leaders and members in the years and generations to come, until we have fully realized our vision of a healthier Colorado for all, regardless of background, belief, or ability. Awesome. So what is CPHA? So CPHA is Colorado's, every state has a public health association, and CPHA is the state of Colorado's public health association. And the Colorado Public Health Association is an affiliate association of the American Public Health Association, or APHA. And CPHA is working to transform the health and well-being of all Coloradans, providing the public health community, both individuals and organizations, a home, a forum, networks, and opportunities to participate and collaborate in core areas of work. So I'll just dive into quickly CPHA's vision and mission. Our vision is to create the healthiest Colorado for everyone. And CPHA's mission is to educate, develop, and galvanize the Colorado public health community. And then CPHA has some core areas of work, which includes professional education, policy and advocacy, and professional development. So I won't go into this too much, but as Miranda was saying earlier, we will be sending out these slides at the after our presentation today. But this is kind of Colorado Public Health Association setup of our committees, including like our executive committee at the top. And then I like to point out our emerging leaders section just in the committee section down below, but you all can take a look at this and I will take a deeper dive into this as well. All right, so our executive board president is Jason Vitello. Our past president is Kim Boyd, who is actually on the call today and will be on our panel as well to be able to answer questions at the end. We also have our president-elect, Nima Chaudhry, and Nima is also on the call as well, and will be on our panel today to answer any questions. We have our health equity officer, Robert Franklin, our secretary, Sarah Lampe, and our affiliate representative to the governing council, Tara Thomas Gill, and our treasurer, Sarah Miller. And then again, you can kind of take a deeper look into this when we send this out, but we have a few different committees that you all can be a part of, including their directors, associate directors, and then our ELC or Emerging Leaders Committee delegates. So for our communications committee, our communications committee is works on increasing CPHA's visibility, and it promotes networking and dialogue among members through a variety of outlets, including our newsletter and social channels. So on each of our slides, you can kind of see here that we have a meeting time. So you can take a look at the meeting time for each of our committees that, that you're able to join. And then also you can take a look at the few opportunities for engagement. And for those emerging leaders out there, I just want to point out that we do have our Emerging Leaders Committee delegate that you're always feel free to reach out to, as well as our director and associate director. Next is our membership committee. The membership committee develops and implements a membership plan that includes recruitment and retention of members within this association. The committee is also engaging in organizational development activities such as press and public relations, and a few opportunities for engagement. Actually, one of them, the picture that we have up here, was our CPHA Outside event that we did back at the beginning of January, and we will have another CPHA Outside event in the near future. I think we're looking towards April, so be on the lookout for that. That's something that you can get engaged with, and you can take a look at their meeting time on here as well. Next, we have our finance committee. So the finance committee, you get to learn a lot about nonprofit finance, accounting, and strategic business planning with our finance committee. This is a really great committee to learn a lot more and learn about some finance. Their meeting time is down there as well. And then, as you can see, you can always reach out to the delegate or our treasurer. Next is our policy committee. So our policy committee identifies the public health related legislative, regulatory, and policy issues of importance to our board committees and members. And you can take a look here we have a policy platform here for 2022, which there's a link there for you all when the slides come out, but also you can take a look on the side here. Our CPHA policy platform and our CPHA strategic plan is laid out in this. And I think our policy committee did such an excellent job this year laying this plan out. And one thing I do want to note on our policy committee that I personally have felt is really beneficial are the weekly legislative briefings every Monday morning, 8:30 to 9 a.m. I feel like it's such a great way to wake up the very first day of every week and just really get a lot of information. You learn a ton being a part of the policy committee. Next, we have our Health Equity Coalition. The Health Equity Coalition stands for creating processes of governance that work for and with all people. They aim to continually and deliberately evolve in equitable practices. And our Health Equity Committee, or our Health Equity Coalition has been very engaged, and there are a lot of things going on in our Health Equity Coalition. And these are a few of the opportunities listed on our slide here. One thing to note that we have our anti-racist organization SWOT, our Strengths, Weaknesses, Opportunities, Threats analysis webinar. And that's going to be on February 11th from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. So I would say mark your calendars for that. And like I said, when you get these slides, you'll be able to click on that registration button and also register for that event. Next, we have our Public Health in the Rockies committee. So I think we get this question a lot about public health in the Rockies and what does CPHA do besides public health in the Rockies? Well, you can definitely see that we have a lot of different committees and different opportunities to get involved. But yes, we also have a Public Health in the Rockies committee. And our Public Health in the Rockies Planning Committee is kind of the overall planning committee, and then we have the subcommittees there as well. And as you can see, there's quite a few listed on there that we always need help organizing and volunteers, people to get involved with actually helping the Public Health in the Rockies come to life. And this year, our Public Health in the Rockies event will be on September 27th through 29th. In Keystone. So mark that on your calendars, and you can take a look at our Public Health in the Rockies Committee meeting time down at the bottom of the slide. Awesome. So we have the Culture of Data Conference, which is designed to strengthen the use of data to support CPHA's vision of creating the healthiest Colorado for everyone. So this is happening April 7th through April 8th. And there's Culture of Data also takes a lot of folks to make this happen. So we have a Culture of Data Planning Committee, which you're welcome to be a part of. And then we also have within that, there's an abstract review committee, which is a great way to learn and to kind of see the background of how Culture of Data actually comes to be. And then we have our Public Health Nursing Committee. So Public Health Nursing is a specialty practice within nursing, public health, and the healthcare system to improve the health of the, excuse me, of the world's people. So you can reach out to the director, Angela, if you wanted to get involved in that. And there's a couple opportunities to get involved, including leading a public health nursing work group, and within public health nursing promotion, public health nursing membership, and public health nursing fundraising. And I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to our director, Lisa Peters, who is our director of our Emerging Leaders Committee.
Thanks, Samantha. Hi, everyone. I cannot stress enough how thankful we are that you decided to come out on a Thursday evening to join and sit and listen to our voices. So thank you so much. We hope that you find this webinar engaging. So now I'm going to answer some questions about Emerging Leaders Committee and expand it a little bit more because this is what is CPHA, the Emerging Leaders Perspective. So the Emerging Leaders Committee offers opportunities for students and early professionals, which is 5 years past your most recent education level. And that's it. That's basically it. We want to make sure that you are engaged, that you are educated, that you are galvanizing, and that you feel like you're on a track to engage in the public health workforce of Colorado. So featured on this slide, we have our core cohort, which leads all the emerging leaders, aka you all, and acts as a bridge between you and the rest of CPHA. So again, each one of our delegates is mentioned on the slide that they feature the committees. If you have any questions about what it's like to be an emerging leader on the Health Equity Coalition or an emerging leader in the Culture of Data Conference, feel free to reach out to them or to myself or Samantha, anybody else on this panel or this webinar. So let's talk a little bit more about what Emerging Leaders does. So on this slide, we understand that it can get a little complicated. So we made a flow chart of what we conquer each year. So we have 2 directors, myself and Samantha, and 6 delegates. We just added one more, 6, and next year there might be a 7th as well, so stay tuned for that. And some of the things that we focus on are education through Emerging Leaders series, and we'll touch more on that. We also offer mentorship and workshops, resume reviews. We are launching a magazine. We're hosting this webinar so that you can learn more about CPHA. And of course, I know you've been distracted ever since I started talking, saying, Lisa, what is that super duper cool hoodie you're wearing? Oh, I know, it's CPHA merch. Amazing. Don't worry, we will do the super cool link. All right, so let's talk about what you can get involved in right now at this point in time. So we want to invite you to attend. Also, I know the slide looks kind of overwhelming, so we're going to break it down a little bit. What can you do right now? First, we want to invite you to attend the next Emerging Leaders series, which is a resume and LinkedIn training. And this will happen at CSU through the Public Health School and in Fort Collins. So that's on February 17th. And then when we send out these slides, we'll also have the links so that everything is clickable for you. Next, we invite you to apply to a mentorship program. If you are an emerging leader and you're in that student early careerist phase, we invite you to be a mentee. That's one of the benefits of being a member of CPHA is that you get engaged in this program. But we also want to invite you, if you're interested in mentoring, go ahead and send an email directly to me or Samantha, and we would be happy to set you up with a mentee. Next, we are so excited this year to launch our very first annual publication, a magazine for emerging leaders. We're calling it Rise, and we're very excited. So there are several opportunities to get engaged here. Number one, we invite you to submit articles, opinion pieces, artwork, photography, crossword puzzles, comics, anything you can think of. If you got it, we want to see it. Number 2 is we want to invite you to become an editor, a volunteer editor. The application process is online, and we are encouraging people to be a part of the process if they're interested in writing or reviewing, if they're interested in layout, graphic design, anything like that. We want to invite you to be an editor. And lastly, if you're interested in getting involved in maybe advertising and you would like to submit an advertising piece, then reach out to Samantha and I directly, and we'd be happy to include the advertisement in Rise Magazine. Next thing that you can do right now, at any point during the year, you can go ahead and submit your resume or CV to review by anyone in the core cohort, and we'll make sure that that gets reviewed. So if you're extra nervous for a job application or an internship application, then go ahead and send that over and we'd be happy to do a quick review. And I want to stress that this is for emerging leaders. And then again, a shout out to purchasing our merch. Super cool. Samantha's also wearing her sweatshirt. So definitely get yours there. And then lastly, I want to touch on again that you can apply to get a scholarship for the Culture of Data conference. Make sure to apply by March 6th, and then they'll select then. And then I also added the opportunities in the future. So if you're wondering, hey, when do you select people to be on the core cohort? How do you do that? I made sure to include that there. And then watch out for Rise to be released on May 1st, as well as dates for other happy hours, abstract workshop, other emerging leaders series that is available. So we're very happy and excited about all the things that are going on, but I get that it can be overwhelming. So feel free to shoot over any questions that you may have. I'm going to pass it back over to Samantha now.
Awesome. All right, so I think this is one of my favorite slides, but what do we, what else are we doing here at CPHA? We're looking to build a public health movement, and what we need is really you. You know, we need folks to help create and build that public health movement with us. Like I said, there's a lot of committees to get involved in, and there are a lot of things and a lot of areas of expertise that you might have. And we would love to help you find a place where that, you know, where that fits in with CPHA. So we really need people power is what we need. So yeah, definitely we want to continue to build this public health movement. And so on that note, we'll go ahead and go to the next slide and talk about becoming a member of the CPHA. So we have our membership fees up here. So the full-time student or retiree is $20. The individual is $45. And just from emerging leader perspective, why get involved? So we all kind of wrote a little bit about why we would get involved. And I think everyone was saying I should read mine. So I joined CPHA to get more involved in public health, serve my community, and network with public health professionals. And I will absolutely say that it's way more than this. CPHA has really become a family to me. And I can't say enough about how much experience I've personally gained and how many, you know, great opportunities I've had, and all of the people that just really help encouraging me in my personal and professional life. And then the next slide, we're going to talk about not sure where to start. Mark and Lisa. Mark is one of our emerging leaders delegates, and they both created this amazing BuzzFeed quiz to help you match to a committee. So you can go ahead, and I think Miranda's been putting this in the chat. And so if you want to take the BuzzFeed quiz to help you match to a committee, go ahead and do that. And everybody loves, you know, a little bit of Yoda. And then next, we're going to move on to our panel. So again, we have Kim Boyd, who is our past president, Nima Chaudhry, who is our president-elect, Lisa Peters, our, sorry, Our Director of Emerging Leaders and myself, Samantha Bertoman, the Associate Director of Emerging Leaders. We are happy to, I'm going to pass it off to Miranda, who is our Emerging Leaders Delegate, our membership delegate. So if you have any membership questions, you can always ask Miranda. And Miranda, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you so much, Samantha. That was great information. Like I said at the beginning of the presentation, I am actively monitoring the chat. So please put anything in there that you have that you might want to ask our panel. Before we get to any of the questions that are in the chat, though, I wanted to touch on some of the things that we had come in during the registration process. So joining CPHA seems like a good opportunity to public health practitioners who might be new to the state. Could you guys please touch on any sort of engagement opportunities specific to these new to Colorado members?
Where's Nima? There you are. You want to go first?
Actually, Kim, take it away and I'll add on.
Great. Well, hello, everybody. It's so nice to be here. It's great to see so many people on and joining us. And I am just so grateful for our current president-elect, Nima, was actually the director 2 years ago of the Emerging Leaders, and the structure of delegates is really was envisioned by Nima and put into practice. So the legacy lives on, and we're grateful to have you all here on a Thursday night. So the question about if you're new to Colorado, where can you or should you get involved, and what's the right kind of ways to go? CPHA, generally speaking, absolutely get involved. There's a number of different ways that you can intersect, as Lisa and Samantha gave the overview in our presentation. And it gives you the opportunity to meet other people, to connect on similar and different opportunities. We have health equity webinars, and you can like, in the side chat, you can be chatting with other people. Getting involved in committee work, I think, is really important, because that's really the heart of what CPHA does. But more importantly, if you are an emerging leader, it's the heart of where you get connected to other people. And in that informal way that you just start connecting, and you're like, oh, hey, I like Nima, and she said she works at this place. And hey, Nima, do you mind if I follow up with you after this meeting? I'd love to connect or take you out for coffee. So it's a really fantastic way to start building your public health network across the state. Depending on what your interests are, there is things for everybody at CPHA, and we need all of you here to join our public health movement. So I hope that answered your question. The other thing that I can say is you could reach out directly to the CPHA email and just say, I'd love to have the opportunity to connect with somebody about what you're doing, and where I might best intersect. I know that there's at least 2 people on this call that I have personally done that with, and they're here and involved. And so I'm really grateful for that.
And I want to just piggyback, because I saw a great question come in from Joanna Espinoza about, like, should we be going into a place where we are really good at something, or that we pick a committee based on area where we want to grow more in? Do both. Do both. I know it's a lot to ask, especially during pandemic times, where we have like 5 million different things going on, where we're trying to take care of our family members and also our, work obligations and school obligations. But I would almost see this as like a place where you can connect with peers that understand you and that get you and that are right there with you in trying to accomplish the things that you want to accomplish, which is helping people, helping make this, the United States and globally, the world, a better place. So, let's say you're really great at, I don't know, policy work. You're like, yes, I have the skills that are needed to really analyze this and tell people what exactly this is about. Join the policy committee. Yes, we want your, analysis capabilities. And then you can be like, I have no freaking idea about what finances mean and like how you read a loss and profit like spreadsheet. How do I do that? Join the finance committee, and the finance leaders will be like, here's how you read one. Let me tell you about how you think about things financially from a nonprofit organization point of view. So you can do both, where you're like in one place, I'm like, yes, I'm shining, I have all these skills, I'm contributing. And then you can go to the other group and be like, I have no freaking idea what I'm talking about. So can you give me some best practices? And that's where people will be like, yes, let me give you best practices. This is how I'm thinking about it. This is how you can start thinking about it. And then the great thing about our committees is that we want your expertise, because you have a new, fresh set of eyes. You're also learning about new methodologies that maybe folks that went to, a school of public health like 10 years ago might not be up with the latest things, just because they just haven't had time to do their continuing education. You get to be the person that's like, hey, I'm new and shiny and I can tell you this new thing, and you get to blow people's minds and then really see what you're thinking about in action. So I would literally say pick two committees, one where you're like, I'm not so good at it, and the second one that's like, yeah, I'm really good at it, I can give all these things to it. So we have this whole range that you can come in to do professional development, to do professional education, to engage in a community that gets it, that gets health equity, that gets like, yeah, there are issues in finances and healthcare and yes, etc. So that's what I would say is like, and both.
I also want to
Go ahead, Lisa.
great
Go
answer.
ahead.
I also want to step in and say that when I first joined CPAJ, I thought I was going to be so inexperienced. I thought I was going to offer nothing to the organization, and that everyone is going to come off as so intimidating because there's experts in their field. And I really want to stress that when you pick a committee that you're going to grow in, first off, you'll grow in any committee. Even when you're an expert, the people here are just so widespread with their knowledge and so devoted to their craft that you'll learn regardless, period. And then second, if you choose one that you really want to grow in a newer skill set, there is no question that is dumb. There's no idea that is too silly. I mean, Samantha and I consistently go to the board of directors who are these seasoned professionals who have been in the field for, decades. And we're like, hey, is this a stupid question? And the answer is no. Every single time, there's no stupid questions. And, it doesn't matter which committee you choose, if that's the route you want to go, you're welcome. Your presence is welcome. Your questions are welcome. Your ideas are welcome.
Thank you for that, Lisa. And I wanted to emphasize something that's been going on in the chat that those of you on the phone might not be able to see. You are absolutely more than welcome to join more than one committee. You don't have to commit to just one. You can commit to all of them if you want to. So I just wanted to highlight that for those of you who couldn't see the chat. Kim, did you have something to add?
I did just have a couple of things. The first one is joining committees is an excellent way for informal networking. If you're thinking of forward thinking to what do you want to do afterwards, because it gives you the opportunity to connect with people and ask more questions. It also gives you the opportunity to show what your skills are in engaging in projects, in communications, in follow through and follow up, in bringing innovative and creative solutions or ideas, and kind of balancing the way you participate in dialogue. I can tell you that people are paying attention. And as Lisa said, many of the people that are on the board or in these committees have been around for decades and are very intricately connected in these systems. And so it's just an amazing way for you to get connected. The other thing I will say is finance in particular, a lot of people tend to shy away from that one. I really encourage you to consider it, especially if you have any interest in the future of going into nonprofit management, because the person who is actually our current treasurer has a passion for mentoring and would love to have the opportunity to just share with you about what does it mean to really be fiscally, financially responsible inside of a nonprofit organization. And then lastly, I think that I wanted to say so when we talk a lot about, when we're talking about what is a membership-based association, we talk a lot about trying to sell you on it about what you get. But I also want to be clear about what your involvement means for what you're giving in that space. And that, aside from whether you individually participate, you do give us people power in order for us to have greater influence at the Capitol, lobby actively for more bills, to be able to influence larger systems like the State Health Department or School of Public Health or other large systems that we really want to be the public health expertise hub that people are coming to, and that are relying on how you are kind of growing over time and being supported in your places of work. And I will also say that I appreciate the Emerging Leaders Committee so much, because your participation in your membership association that advocates on behalf of you doesn't just give you power here in Colorado, but it also gives you power nationally at APHA. So I just wanted to say those few things. Sorry.
Thank you, Kim. Samantha, I had seen that you had unmuted. Did you have something that you wanted to add, or do you want us to move on?
Always. I always want to talk. No. Oh my goodness. No, I just want to say that, so I just want to do like a little, tell you a little bit about my personal journey, like to get into CPHA, because I think, again, it can be really intimidating. And I'm pretty sure I just started, let's see, I was living in California when I joined Colorado Public Health Association. And I was like, I'm coming here to Colorado. I'm gonna be a part of this association. And I started sitting on Public Health in the Rockies committee. And this was like right before Public Health in the Rockies. I really didn't know much about it. They were kind of in the final phases. And anyway, and I started jumping around and I started attending all these different committee meetings. And I just have to say, you all, like the one that I remember the most is sitting on the policy committee. And I swear to you, even to this day, I sit on that committee and I could probably only tell you half of what's going on. But I am there to learn and to grow. And Allie was like the most forgiving person. And Allie's currently the director. And I just remember probably like the third time that I showed up, Allie was like, oh, Samantha, you're here again, and all that, just really engaging and very warm and welcoming. And even though I was just kind of a fly on the wall for a while, I learned how to kind of get involved, and I learned where I could apply my skills, and I learned where I could grow and network. And so I just know that like my personal experience has been really, really great. And like I said, I feel like everybody's been very warm and welcoming. And, if you pop in on a meeting, we try to always do introductions and just kind of like see where you're from. I think it's that's the other word I want to use, a very forgiving audience. If you want to talk about a place where you can learn and grow, I ask silly questions all the time, or I email and I'm like, what is this? Or what's going on with this? And everyone has just been, really great to help me in my own growth. And I'm a Colorado School of Public Health student right now. And this is only my first year. And I just think the Colorado Public Health Association has really, helped me a ton in my personal, growth, and then just like within public health and within Colorado. And to be honest, I just reached out to Sarah Miller and I was like, hi, Sarah, will you talk to me about the work that you do? And she responded back to me like this and is like, of course, I would love to talk to you about the work that you're doing. So I just want to speak from like an experience so that you all can see like, this is really what's happening here. This is really what's going on. And I consider Nima my mentor. I tell everyone, I'm like, Nima's my mentor. I don't think Nima knows this, but I know, but it's a really great experience, and it's you know, it's a really great place for you to learn if you are an emerging leader or if you're just in the field of public health. So I just wanted to speak a little bit from personal experience because I just love CPHA.
And I wanted to add to what you said, Samantha, like, how cool is it? Like, this is your first year MPH student this year. And last summer, before you even started your program, because you had been involved in public health in the Rockies planning, you knew everybody on the board, and you're walking through the public health in the Rockies halls and people are like, hey, Samantha, how are you doing? And so, I mean, just that, if you're aching for connectedness right now, CPHA is a really great place to join the family.
Thanks for that, Kim. That's a beautiful sentiment. Go ahead, Nima, sorry.
No, Miranda, thank you so much. I would just like to say that for the introverts in this group, even if you want to send like a 1-sentence email where like, I want some experience, like, because we've been talking about the extroverts in this group that are like, yeah, I want all the, you know, opportunities. If you're an introvert and you aren't so further out in your sentence writing, even then, like, just reach out to us. Maybe you want to do some data work, or you are interested in speaking to people, you're just wanting that experience. There's space for not just extroverts, but introverts and anyone in between too. So I just want to acknowledge that it's not just a group of people that love to talk to each other. There's space for everybody in between there too.
Thank you for that, Nima. I was reflecting to Samantha and a few of you before we started about how nervous I was to even just like give the introduction. So trust me, there's plenty of introverts around. I had a couple of follow-up questions for you guys based on some of the stuff that you had mentioned earlier. First, Nima, you had talked a little bit about continuing education. Does CPHA offer any sort of CE or continuing education credits?
We do.
Sorry, go ahead. Who just?
I was gonna say,
go ahead.
but Kim, correct me if I'm wrong. During public health in the Rockies, some of the courses and specific things that we offer during our actual public health education events, such as the culture of data and public health in the Rockies, there we do offer CE credits. Outside of that, though, we do not, because it's more of the professional development arena. But that's what I know it as. Kim, I would love it if you can clarify or expand on that.
Yeah, you are correct, but I just want to clarify a nuance that CPHA does not, but COSOFI, the Colorado Society for Public Health Education, does. And we partner with them at CPHA, at Public Health in the Rockies, for CHES credits, for continuing health education credits. And so that is what we do. And it is something that we have had dialogue behind the scenes. Most public health professionals don't have a licensure that requires CEs. So we haven't put a lot of emphasis on it in the past, but it doesn't mean it isn't a conversation that we should continue.
Thank you. That's really helpful. And then one of the other follow-up questions that we had was, could you clarify a little bit about the relationship of CPHA to APHA and how they work together and what that kind of looks like?
Nima, I can take a first stab at that. So you noticed on our executive committee that we have a role called the affiliate representative to the governing council. So we are an official state affiliate of APHA. And Colorado has a position on the governing council of APHA. And what that means is we have a voice in who's elected as the next APHA president, on any policy statements or policies that are implemented, on passing and editing the budgets. So from a kind of membership association standpoint, our voice is represented at the national level. What that also means is that as a state representative, we are lumped into the bucket when they're going to Congress, to the US Senate or US House of Representatives, that when they're speaking on behalf of advocacy for public health across the country, they are speaking on our behalf. And oftentimes, if there are specific policies or bills, their policy folks will reach out directly to us and say, hey, can you get a meeting with Senator Bennett, for example? And so we have a relationship that is symbiotic. We also are part of Region 8. So all of these state affiliates are separated out into regions. And we're a part of Region 8 for the state affiliates. And so we also collaborate with our surrounding states to consider what are best membership practices, how can we share and learn from one another, what is the Council of Affiliates at the national level really implementing at APHA, how can we continue to advocate to make sure that APHA is not forgetting and supporting state affiliates, because they have a lot of different components. So I think that's generally it. When we hosted the APHA conference this past year, we were there and doing, helping with the openings and putting together social events. And so there's a lot of different ways that we intersect, but we are at its core just the affiliate of.
Great. Nima, do you have something to add?
Yeah, I was just gonna say we're a subsidiary of APHA, so we're like the little group off. Every state has a representative, so Colorado is one of the 50 states. And the other thing that I'd like to say is that I'm part of the group called JEDI, and it's for justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. And so, APHA and CPHA, talked about racism being a public health issue and something that we need to reckon with and talk about. And so I'm part of the group that is talking about how do we make organizations look at themselves and look at the practices that we're engaging in. Are we inclusive? Are we talking about things that are uncomfortable, such as racism, sexism, all the isms, and going through that? So you get to, as part of CPHA, have kind of a gateway into that APHA world where you're like, oh, there's the mental health section, there's the health information, health technology section that I'm sure we'll be talking about later. So there are all these opportunities that you can access through CPHA into the APHA world.
Thanks for that, you guys. I think that that's really helpful.
Can I
So
add
just a
something
little-
to that, Miranda, really quickly, just about the JEDI work group that Nima is on and what the inception of that was. So in 2018, 18-19, when Cerise Hunt was our CPHA president, we brought a consultant in from APHA to help facilitate our strategic planning process. And that individual was also at the time on the Council of Affiliates at APHA and took that strategic planning work that she did with us back to APHA. And out of that was born the diversity, equity, and inclusion toolkits for all the affiliates. And the next step from that is this JEDI work group. So Jason Vitello has presented a few times at APHA on our DEI and anti-racist work. But we've also, our work here, and particularly our diversity, equity, inclusion, and anti-racism work has influenced up, which is helping to spread that around the country as well.
I think that that's so important, this concept, even within public health broadly, of being able to influence up and seeing how that's played out is is amazing. And I just learned something new. So it's a learning opportunity for all of us today. Going back a little bit to more maybe of the logistical questions, so CPHA is a volunteer organization, but you do pay for membership. Do you guys want to touch a little bit on what you're paying for with your dues?
Friends. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead, Kim.
So Nima, do you want to take a first stab at it, or you want me to? Okay. So what are you paying for when you are paying for your membership? A couple of things. So it helps to support our organization to be able to pay for lobbyists to represent us at the Capitol, to have the ability to ahead of time actually put down payments on our sites, to have conferences. You see Rachel Mossman here, who is our executive staff director with our association management company. We absolutely could not function if it were not for the fact that we had an association management company doing our finances, setting up our meetings, helping us with our strategic thinking, and bringing ideas to the table around marketing and communications. And so that is a really important stable force for us that your dues help to pay for. The board is an all volunteer board. So there are about 22 or 23 of us that are on the board giving of our volunteer time. And if you were on a committee, that would be volunteer time to you as well. But that allows for anything that we make through our fundraising, through our opportunities, through our membership dues, all go to kind of our operations costs. It also helps to support our scholarships. So if you apply for scholarships to go to one of our conferences, then it helps to support things like that as well. So, and it just continues to give us, when you roll that up, our whole goal is really to create a public health movement. We need people power to do that. And I wish that people power could be free, but it can't. We need resources also to pair with that people power.
So Kim, could I follow up? For people who the dues might be a financial burden for, are there opportunities for them to still give back with their time, or do they have to be due paying members?
So a couple of things. If you really, really, really want to be a member and you can't afford it, please reach out directly to CPHA. There are opportunities for us to consider scholarships for dues. And absolutely, like giving back, I would say, is separate from dues paying. Please, we need you in all of our committees. And we appreciate all of the work that you are doing and you will be doing to help us.
From an emerging leaders perspective, I wanted to bring in some of the specific opportunities that we have as kind of a members only. But again, if you honestly cannot, if becoming a member is not in the financial opportunity for you, then honestly, let us know and we'll make sure that you get the opportunities that you still deserve, right? But I did want to reach out and say that for emerging leaders, there are some member-specific opportunities that we have. For example, the core cohort, we require that you become a member. And then same if you would like to be a mentee in the mentorship program. If you would like to take advantage of the resume review or the CV review, we ask that you're a member. And then if you are volunteering or submitting pieces for the new Rise magazine, we also ask that you're a member there as well. For our events, such as the Emerging Leaders series, like that resume building LinkedIn training, that one, if you're a member, it's free. And if you're not a member, then we're asking you to pay $5 to attend. But again, if that is out of financial reach for you, then honestly, let us know and we'll make sure that you still get the opportunities that you need.
Thanks for that, Lisa. And then just being cognizant of time, we have about 5 minutes left. I feel like this probably could have been extended a half an hour, or another hour or more. I just wanted to conclude. I want to just ask each of our panelists, like 1 minute summary. What is your favorite memory of being in CPHA? So something that you've done or a connection that you've made.
I'll go first. So I'm newer to CPHA, and this is my first year serving on the directors. And honestly, I thought it was going to be this big intimidating thing where I was in over my head, but coming here and seeing how dedicated and genuinely loving and authentic the people here are, it is so easy to get involved. And so my favorite memory is an ongoing memory that I consistently have, and that is my friendship with Samantha. And I know that it is so cheesy to come up here and talk about how much we love CPHA, but we genuinely do. And so it sounds very, very cheesy, but honestly, I met one of my closest friends through CPHA, and I am so thankful. And that's why I cannot stress becoming a part of CPHA and joining committees, joining boards, joining events, even just, if you can spend any time here, I promise you, the people are easy to love.
I am genuinely so embarrassed and also so oh my gosh. Yeah, I have to echo that. Lisa and I started working together last September, and we didn't even know each other. And we just started kind of meeting. And to be honest, you guys, now we call each other every day, I think.
I won't say too much, probably.
Do. But it really is. And I really will, jump off of that. And just when I first met Nima, I think I reached out to Nima just as I saw Nima's LinkedIn or something, and I reached out to Nima, and Nima kindly sat down and talked to me for an hour about Colorado School of Public Health, Colorado Public Health Association. And I asked Nima the important questions, like, how many courses should I take? Or what is this course? Or what is, should I go after this role? Or what kind of work is there in public health policy? Or, I really think I'm trying to think of the best memory. I'm sorry, I'm talking too much. I just think it's the people. It really is the people that keeps me coming back again and again and again. And even Kim has been so helpful and kind, and I can't say enough. Even just attending CPHA outside, you'll just never meet a more amazing group of people. And going to public health in the Rockies, same thing. So I really think it's the people.
Nima, you want to go next?
I do. I just want to quickly say, Samantha and Lisa said people and opportunities. And I think I'd like to back up really quick and channel a little bit of Jason Vitello as our president, but to really talk about the fact that we are currently living in a world where there is an anti-public health movement going on, where people are questioning the good for more people policies and procedures that we're trying to enact to make sure that we as a community can continue to support each other. And I think that like-minded people are needed, not in the sense of let's just get a group together and talk about a thing, but mainly because we are all folks that know to bring evidence-based information to people that we love, which is our communities together. And so we want to build a public health movement, and that requires people power. We've talked about it, but that involves you, and that involves your skills, your intelligence, and the fact that you can build research and do it and then disseminate it to people and let them know what's actually really going on. And so I'd just like to bring together all of our collective attention to the fact that we have a public health emergency going on right now, and we need all of you. We need this collective action to be able to come together, look at each other of okay, you're reading the same information I am. Okay, you're doing this thing. These are all these best practices. Let's bring it to the community, and that's what we need. And so I think the value of joining CPHA, being part of it, is bringing that people power together to fight against this anti-public health movement, and we can all do it together as a community.
Thank you, Nima. Kim, you've got the last minute.
All right, I will try to be quick because I know it's 6:30 and it's late and I'm sure everybody's busy and tired. There's so many things. I think people, I can't reiterate enough. The people are so important. I never would have imagined that I also would have met some of my greatest, dearest friends on this board, and I have. I've been involved here since about 2013, and have been on the board since about 2015. And I'm going to be really sad. This is my last year on the board, and at least for now, and I'll be really sad to turn off the board. I think my favorite moment, my favorite experience was the board meeting. Nima, you may have been there, the board meeting because I think you're the one who said this, that we decided to declare that CPHA was going to become an anti-racist organization. And we had all summer, the summer after the murder of George Floyd, been talking as a board about what should we be doing in this area. We need to really drive this forward. And it may have been you, Nima, that was like, we were talking about how do we, what statements do we want to make? How do we want to incorporate this? What do we want to do? And as soon as Nima said, maybe we should just make our declaration about anti-racism and say we're going to be an anti-racist organization. And our board, you could have heard a pin drop, and everybody immediately was like, yes, that is exactly what we need to do. And we did. 3 weeks later, I was standing on the platform at Public Health in the Rockies making that declaration. And so the last thing I will say, the last plug I will make is join the board. Because that's where these amazing, difficult, challenging, exciting growth opportunities happen, and where you get to set the direction of the future of CPHA. So I'll close with that and say I'm really grateful to have been here with you tonight.
Thank you, Kim. That was a great closing statement for us. So I just want to thank, first of all, our panelists tonight, as well as all of you for attending. I want to reiterate that we will be sending out a follow-up email that has all of the links, and to please encourage you, if you have any remaining questions, to please reach out to us. I know that it can be hard for some people, but please, we hope that you feel welcomed here and that you feel comfortable reaching out to us if you have. Yeah, I swear we're really friendly people, okay? We just want our friends. And
if you're not looking for friends and you just want to come to do some work, you're welcome here too.
If you're like, I don't ever want to talk to these people, but I want to help out, we can work that out. But with that, thank you all again, and look forward to joining and seeing your faces on some of these committees and doing it together.